very disturbed, I think, this week is the country, because many people got in touch with me over the last 48 hours or so with their own stories. Many of them just sending me messages on Facebook, on Twitter, telling us that, you know, where I live, this is what's happening. And it's quite an extraordinary picture that is now appearing to be the case, where everyone has seemingly been touched by a migrant problem, you know, whether it's a local hotel that's been taken over, whether it happens to be the streets where they live which have been taken over, whether they've just noticed a lot more kind of, you know, dodgy looking people wandering around. You know, the numbers, the sheer numbers, and now that we know about the Afghanistan situation, have just kind of dwarfed everything else this week.
They have, and I think in particular when it comes to the Afghanistan thing, the secrecy around it, the scale of it and the secrecy around it, I think has angered an awful lot of people, precisely because, of course, we're still going through the scandal of the grooming gangs across much of the north of England and the Midlands, and suggestions that it's even further afield. Much of which, of course, the major central allegation is not only did it happen, but that authorities knew that it happened and kept very quiet about it, if not actually tried to hush it up. So to then find that, and that was being done at a local level, to then find that, central government had been involved in a massive operation to move people and had also kept that quiet, but had dropped these people into communities without their say-so, without their knowledge, and having admitted after the fact, forcibly, that they also didn't necessarily know who all of these people were. Oh, and by the way, it could be 24,000, but it could also conceivably be 150,000 because they're all allowed to bring their relatives with them. I think that really does focus minds, I think. When you sort of think about it in the abstract and you think, oh, there's 40,000 coming across the channel a year, and you can see them coming on the boats, that's bad enough. But when it's covert flights are bringing people in their thousands and you don't know where they've gone. Oh, and by the way, the government has just been forced to admit this. Oh, and by the way, you can see people on your streets in your towns that weren't there a few weeks ago. And there is, as you say, the uptick in crime, the antisocial behavior. And then, of course, you have it factored in that your personal services are going down. Your council is perhaps running fewer hours a week. There are fewer services, but your taxes are going up. It all reaches a critical point where people start to go, so local services, local authorities are keeping things secret from us. National government is keeping things secret from us. What else are they keeping secret from us? And how much more of this do we have to put up with? Because if we don't say no, they will keep pushing this on us.
That's very much the theme, isn't it? And meanwhile, we've got a government which seems to be, to all intents and purposes, sort of tone deaf to what the ordinary people of this country are thinking. You know, we know from what happened last summer that Keir Starmer believes that anyone who doesn't like a migrant is somehow a far-right thug who's sort of on the brink of setting fire to a wheelie bin and chucking it into a hotel. You know, he clearly has no understanding, as many MPs don't have, of the mood of the nation. It's almost as though he's deliberately ignoring it.
I mean, they will still cling to this ideology of theirs at all cost, that fundamentally all of these people are good and all of the problems are caused by the far right. I mean, Jess Phillips went on another radio show earlier this week, and she was being asked by the host, I forget his name, about levels of crime in certain demographics. And we all know that it happens. We all know that certain demographics are massively disproportionately affected when it comes to crime statistics, be they Somalis, be the Albanians, whereas others, like the Ghanaians, for instance, barely register at all on the list. We all know that it happens. And Jess Phillips could not bring herself to say, and I think which she was talking about sexual assault, she could not bring herself to say that there were some communities that were overrepresented. So in her desperate bid not to be offensive, she just went, well, there's one thing that links all of these communities everywhere, and that's men. And you just kind of sat there going, so in your bid to not be offensive, you've just slandered half the population. It's really smart, but that's how the ideology works.
Yeah, absolutely right. And funnily enough, it's the first time she's been seen for ages, because she went and took a very, very sort of long powder, did she not, when the whole rape gang conversation was going on. And by the way, since we're on that subject, what the hell is happening to the rape gang inquiry? Because it's all gone a bit quiet, hasn't it?
It has, but I also have to say, even though that, as you say, it's gone a bit quiet, and it's been sort of ongoing for a very long time, and not a lot has happened about it. I do sort of feel as if we've just reached a critical mass on that subject. It's not going to go away because actually people have started to pay attention to the scale. They've started to pay attention to the media outlets that are covering it. And I think that the fury has just reached such a level that you can try and obfuscate. You can try and do the classic British government thing of pretending it's not there and sort of explain it away and bog it down
Yeah.
in investigations and inquiries. It's not going anywhere, especially when the numbers of people coming into the country from the parts of the world that are most likely to commit these crimes continues apace. And then the government is found to be not only complicit, but government ministers then go on TV afterwards and go, well, we had a moral duty to bring these people in. And oh, by the way, no, we can't tell you who they are or where we've put them or how many there are.
Yeah, absolutely right. Meanwhile, I'm going to distract you for a moment, like a sort of, a man entering the old days of the British Empire with some flashy sort of, shiny things to distract you. Here's Keir Starmer yesterday talking about something called the Kensington Treaty.
It's a privilege to have you here today, particularly to sign this Kensington Treaty, which is a very special treaty because it's the first of its kind ever, if you can believe it, between our two countries. Yeah. And I see it very much as evidence of the closeness of our relationship as it stands today, the strength of our values, the strength of our joint approach, but also very much as a statement of intent, a statement of our ambition to work ever more closely together, the closest of allies, and whether that's on defence, security, trade, the economy, energy, covers so much in this treaty. And so this is a really historic signing of a historic agreement.
This statement of intent comes at this time, 7:15. I plan to be on the air until 10 o'clock. That's my statement of intent. This comes hot on the heels of a deal that you did with the Prime Minister of Czechia, as they like to call it, where they signed a memorandum of understanding, which is all about basically setting out on paper how close we are with each other and what we intend to do together in the future. It's complete and utter BS, isn't it?
I mean, I was slightly tickled when he said that this is the first treaty of its kind between our two countries, and then he mentioned defence, and I thought, oh, thank heavens, a non-aggression pact after all these years.
Yeah, right.
That's just what we could have done with some time ago.
Yes.
I mean, it is just what you are going to see is this ever sort of creeping move towards greater alignment with European countries on all sorts of things. And,
well, it's going to cost us a few quid, according to the front page of the Daily Telegraph. We're going to have to pay the European Union now, thanks to Keir Starmer's Brexit reset.
Yeah, this is a stealth way of basically, I'm not going to say readmittance to the European Union because it's not. They wouldn't be so foolish as to do that. But it is going to be a significantly worse situation than if we were in the European Union, or if, in fact, if we'd just had quite a hard break with the European Union. We're going to sort of get certain access or certain alignment to certain things. We're going to pay them money, but we're not actually going to be a full paid up member. And I think that is... This is the thing you have to remember in the world of the Europhile, is that a bad deal with the European Union, where you get to sort of cling to some of it, is better than no deal at all. And that was always the fear, was that we were going to leave, and then we were going to have, frankly, a half-cocked agreement with the EU, where slowly there was going to be greater alignment on certain things, not necessarily to our significant benefit, purely because of the financial cost. I mean, any amount of money that we're spending in order for British citizens to be able to use e-gates is not an amount of money worth spending. It is this strange Remainer middle class fantasy where they go, oh, I have to add 20 minutes onto my entire trip because I have to queue at the at passport control, whereas everybody else gets to use the electronic gates. And for that, we're supposed to give them how much money to alleviate that problem? I mean, that is complete nonsense. But, alignment on things like defense.
It's like the world's most expensive upgrade, isn't it?
It is, but these are things like spending more money on defence. But what exactly does that mean? Given that our own defence policy is just this sort of gaping chasm of money that we just throw things into and it disappears, I'm not entirely sure what it is that greater alignment with Germany, which has only just recently started its own rearmament, not to worry anybody, but has only just started that, 2 years into the Russian war. What exactly does it mean? Are we going to be running sort of joint ops with Germany? Neither of us has the equipment or the troops.
No, exactly right. Final thought for you, Benedict, on votes for 16-year-olds. What do you make of it?
Honestly, why not? Why not at this point? I mean, have you seen the quality of the MPs we already have?
Yeah.
That's adults have voted for. No, I mean, honestly, we all knew that it was coming. It was inevitable that they were going to try and front load it onto us because they're worried they might not be able to achieve very much else in government. They think that this is how they're going to be able to rig elections going forward because they think everybody is going to vote left wing. Actually, what's going to happen is young girls, if they vote at all, are going to vote Green or Lib Dem, and young boys are probably going to vote Reform.
Yeah.
The majority of them aren't going to vote at all because they're not really that interested in this. But what this will lead to is the massive politicization of schools because teachers will try to push their views onto their pupils. You mark my words.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right on. Thank you very much indeed. Benedict Spence, political